Hello and welcome to Songs of Praise from Shrewsbury, where all this year the town has been celebrating its most famous son, Charles Darwin, who was born here 200 years ago. And it's a double anniversary year. Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, was published 150 years ago this week. It revolutionized the way we understand the natural world and sold out within a few days. Since then, debate has raged about creation versus evolution, but Darwin never really intended this to happen, as we'll hear from the man himself. Well, almost. Charles Darwin was born at the Mount, his family's home on the outskirts of Shrewsbury, on February the 12th, 1809. For many, Darwin is the man whose theory of evolution drew the battle lines between science and religion. But in fact, Darwin himself never denied the existence of God. It is true that as a result of developing his theories and the tragic loss of his daughter Anne, Darwin lost his faith. But he always called himself an agnostic, never an atheist. Darwin, the man, might have withdrawn from church-going, but as a boy he had worshipped at Shrewsbury's Unitarian Church with his mother and sisters. And he was actually baptized into the Church of England there at St. Chad's, Shrewsbury's civic church. When Charles Darwin attended Shrewsbury School, it was sited opposite the castle. Now it stands proudly on the hill overlooking the town. But it's said that the presence of the great man is still felt in its corridors and classrooms.
Stock your mind, delve into things and collect them.
I think what we feel as a legacy here is that we have an attachment to a man and a mind who was prepared to think ahead, prepared to pursue his dreams, what he talked about as his proper sphere, which he must pursue despite this classical education around him.
Blasted classics.
Do you think you'd have got on with Darwin if you were in his year?
Yeah, he was very active. I think he had lots of friends whom he went to, I think, beetle collecting, which I'm not sure would go down amazingly well nowadays.
You mean that tradition hasn't remained?
There's still some.
Yeah, there's still beekeeping.
Beekeeping, yeah.
Obviously, to have somebody on the back of a £10 note who was at Shrewsbury School is quite a serious achievement.
I'm not sure how much he really enjoyed the school. He certainly had a lot of friends here, and he enjoyed the cake shops. But
nothing wrong with liking the cake shops.
no, there's nothing wrong with liking the cake shops at all.
We've now got girls. It's changed a 750-year tradition of an all-boys school.
I hope you're making the girls feel welcome, boys.
Yeah, I think so.
How on the fence was that? I think so.
A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life.
When one understands that he was rather surprised that he might have influenced the scientific beliefs of some men on some important points, what a statement for a man who changed the world. I think if we're asking the big questions as well, which we do, whether in a classroom or in the chapel, then we're following in the footsteps of Darwin, rightly so, and tackling those very sorts of questions, be they about religion or creation or evolution or other issues which the human mind must grapple with.
Mr. Darwin, I presume, or should I say Robin Case, school registrar. Good to see you. Is this normal attire for a school registrar then?
Well, there's always a certain element of hilarity and lunacy about a good school, and just occasionally I get into costume, yes.
Why do you dress up?
As Darwin?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that on Darwin's birthday it was absolutely right to bring to life for the boys at Shrewsbury the qualities of his life and relationships and science that needed to be celebrated on such an occasion.
How exaggerated would you say is this conflict between science and God?
Well, I think Darwin was always cautious about that, and it took him 30 years or so to write The Origin of Species with regard to his critics and detractors, and to make sure that the science was in place and that what he wrote was irrefutable. And as a young man, I imagine a conventional Christian at school, I think he was well aware that a proper Christian view of the world could embrace good science, and maybe in his own way there was not so much conflict as people imagined.
Darwin is undoubtedly the most celebrated old Salopian, as the school's former associates are known, but he's in good company. Other alumni include two famous hymn writers, Cyril Allington and Bishop William Walsham Howe, one of whose hymns understands how difficult it can be to believe. After all, our faith is based on an incredible story.